The four pillars of hip-hop are MCing, DJing, breakdancing, and graffiti. While today MCing, DJing, and dancing have stood the test of time and are still in some ways mainstays of hip-hop, graffiti seems to have vanished from the culture for the most part. Al.Divino is one of my favorite artists of this newer generation because he's a hip-hop triple threat. He's a rapper, a producer, and an artist. His music is a clash between throwback connoisseur rap with a more experimental noise hop style, and his art is an extension of this experimentation, blending graffiti with contemporary neo-expressionism. This artistic approach, combined with having one of the most prolific and versatile discographies of the underground, helps make Divino one of the most unique and exciting young artists working today. Hailing from Lynn and Lawrence, Massachusetts, Al.Divino started rapping fresh out of high school, under the name Apollo Knox. His early music was a little more of a throwback sound, without that experimental flair that he developed later on, but his immense talent could be heard from the start. His look gave off the vibe that he'd be in the same vein as a young Mac Miller or Asher Roth, but his voice and delivery proved that he was more of a descendant of the Wu-Tang Clan or the Boot Camp Clique, who he cites as some of his early inspirations.
Step the fuck back, or get hit with this fire. Make it hard to be driven like whips with slit tires. Inside of my dome, got visions of an empire. Got impulses falling off like a cliff diver.
He was still finding his sound at this time, but even at a young age, Al knew that he was going to be a special kind of artist. In an interview when he was just 18, they asked him where he saw himself in 5 years, and this is what he said. "I'm an MC who is constantly reinventing my style, so I can't really say. A main aim for my music is to bridge the generation gap that has been formed by the media saturating the perception of our culture. I'm here to be the clear contrast among all this fraudulent fake shit. If you ask me, that's spoken like a true student of hip-hop." His early collaborations with artists like R.e.m and Estee Nack from the group Tragic Allies helped him develop his sound and style, and in 2015 when he changed his name to Al.Divino, he was ready to go on an incredible run. Al.Divino has released nearly 50 projects since 2015 alone, but his partnership with Estee Nack seems to be where he does his best work. Nack was rapping for about a decade before him and Divino even started collaborating, but Nack still credits Al for being very influential to his style. In an interview with Bandcamp, he said, "As far as I'm concerned, Al.Divino is the one who taught me how to rap. He just comes in and starts fucking shit up. The mix is crazy, but he's like, that's how I like it. So I allowed myself to just watch him, instead of trying to instruct him." So you can see that Divino's creative mindset is unique and it brings out the best in people. The duo are a perfect match for each other. What they share in style and sensibility, they differ completely in their delivery and actual lyrical approach. Their chemistry and overall output is incredibly impressive, putting out nearly a dozen projects together in just 6 years. One of my favorite things about Al.Divino is the album covers that he chooses, which completely represent the sound of the music. Him and Nack have given us a number of gems over the years, but one of their most underrated to me is Veda, which is a prime example of how they use art to get us into the mood of the record. The album cover is a batik painting of the goddess Kali, who is the Hindu goddess of time, death, and doomsday. I love when an artist picks a cover of a record that has a deeper meaning, giving a sort of history to the record, making the duo feel like ancient storytellers, instead of just a couple of dudes making music. Possibly their best showing together in my opinion is Abracadabra Alakazam. The cover is a painting from Rene Bull from 1912 called The Story of the Fisherman from his book Arabian Nights. This is one of my top 5 Divino albums. Listening to it sounds cinematic. The production feels like an old movie score, while the rapping is an aggressively fresh display of street life.
Yo, 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 yeah. Hey, yo, shoot guns, pursue funds, route the red line, pump no one feed that'll push a car for a few jumps, yo.
From a solo standpoint, Divino has given us some of his best work, carrying whole projects on his own. Perhaps the most notable of them is Monumentality. The name of this project fits, as this might be Divino's most monumental release to date. Serving as possibly the best entry point for anybody trying to get into Divino, the cover art is a photo of a man sitting on Egyptian ruins, symbolizing Divino's bridging of old school ideology with a brand new way of thinking. The photo was originally taken in the 1850s by Francis Firth, who was enamored by the survival of monuments from past civilizations. I feel like Divino feels a similar way about his music. He doesn't treat his releases as albums. He treats them as monuments and statements to music and creativity. The music itself on this album is amazing. The production feels like a soundtrack to a 19th century archaeological excavation, and Divino's rapping performance is possibly the sharpest and most fun of his career.
Rusty razor blade, leave your face slashed. Flip the haze ash, bask in the radius. Pyramids of Giza radius. Acadian, get ahead and count money simultaneous. Dr. Octavius.
During Mach-hommy and the Gawd Fahim's incredible 2017 run, Al.Divino was right there with them. Dump God Divino Edition Volume 1's cover has a Prohibition-era Chicago gangster, perfectly personifying the mafioso sound that Divino gives us here. This was one of the first Divino projects that I ever heard, so I always picture this gangster on the cover as Divino in a past life, before he was in the underground of rap, and when he was in the underground of organized crime. The second Dump God edition features another Tommy gun wielding gangster, but this time he looks like the Joker, paving the way for some of Divino's more abstract, drug-induced future endeavors. When his album artwork isn't transporting you to another time, it's usually a look into the drugged-out mind of a creative. His 2020 album Face Melt perfectly exemplifies this side of Divino. His sound has come such a long way since his post-Marciano earlier traditional stuff to a sort of postmodern abstract deconstruction of hip-hop. The production is noisy and invasive, feeling like the audio equivalent of a Jackson Pollock painting. And his flow is loose, bouncing between quotables and ad-libs, feeling like a stream of consciousness blend between Westside Gun and Old Dirty Bastard.
Show you what the blick's for. Don't get your crib lit up like Christmas, you throwing with bullet holes. Better have a bag, try to book a show. Better have that bag for me.
If you're looking for an entry point into Divino's music that's on streaming, Triple Black Diamonds might be the most accessible option, as it's his first collab with Estee Nack, and even the first time that we're really introduced to the artist that we now know as Al.Divino. And then if you want to dive into his more experimental material, Kilogram is another great option that's on streaming services. On this one, he teams up with the legendary DJ Muggs, and their styles match up perfectly. Divino is such a great collaborator, because he brings out the best and most unique sides of other artists. And as awesome as Divino the MC is, his production is what really sets him apart musically. Along with his great solo projects, he's given us a number of instrumental albums, as well as a couple of projects where he remixes songs from other artists, such as J Electronica, Earl Sweatshirt, Westside Gun, and more. And he's also produced a number of projects for other artists too. Probably the most notable is Secrets, which he produced for Starker. The cover to this album specifically is what originally convinced me to check out Divino's music. The covers are so vibrant and captivating. And the coolest thing is that Divino and Starker painted this themselves. Divino painted all the background, and Starker painted the character on it, which is a perfect metaphor for how Starker is the voice of the project, and Divino provides the background for him musically. The duo just came out with a sequel earlier this year called Sacred, painting the cover again in the same fashion. Which brings me back to what originally drew me to Divino. He's painted covers for a lot of his albums, and I just find that so cool. He is the definition of an independent artist. Everything from the beats, to the raps, to the distribution, to the artwork, is all handled by Divino himself on most of these. In 2021, he started to release music under a new alias, CVV-Vino, and a lot of these releases have been very divisive among fans, but I love it. He's really blending the lines of what hip-hop is, giving us songs that sound R&B inspired, and some stuff that feels like just some freestyled mumble rap. And that's just what I love about Al.Divino. Even from back when he was 18, he knew that his sound would be constantly evolving. He's pushing the boundaries of the genre, and what it means to be an underground rapper in this era. He sells his music, as well as his paintings, for hundreds and even thousands of dollars, taking a cue from Mach-hommy's playbook. And he really doesn't care what you have to say about what he's doing. With the release of his latest album, Spinism, he posted something on Instagram that I feel like perfectly sums up his approach to hip-hop and art. He said, "This music isn't about words. This is what my life really sounds like. This is the soundtrack to the livest party that hasn't been thrown yet. Completely self-produced. From the beats to the mix. Everything done by myself. I can't be fucked with on any level. Locally to globally. From music to visuals, I will continue to set the standard. This is a reminder and a preview of what else is in store. Thank you, every one of you. Divino." Thanks for watching, everybody. As always, if you enjoyed the video and want to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that's always appreciated. This was a fun one because there's just so much I love about Divino. I really only scratched the surface of what he has out there, so I definitely didn't mention some of his best work. So let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite Al.Divino album? Thanks for watching.